It's really important you read your rule book. It's very dry reading, but if you read nothing else, pages 44 through about 50 have everything that we're going to talk about today. It's very important that you know those rules because you will be called to the judge's stand to judge. You won't judge your classes, so if you run junior novice, you won't judge a junior novice race. If you have a family member in a junior novice, because we have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins that race together, you will not judge their races. However, you could judge a senior novice race. The first few races, we're going to put you up on the judge's stand as an observer. You'll be the fourth judge, and you won't actually be able to make a call. But our club is very heavy in the big classes, Light 160, World Formula, Senior Animals, and it will not be long before we're calling on our judges to judge. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to read some of the rules out loud, and then we're going to do some examples on the track, and we're going to talk about how to make the calls, what to make the calls. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the role of the judges, just so everybody understands. Page 44. So the role of the judges shall enforce all appropriate racing rules and regulations during the running of an event. They shall witness the race and be responsible for making all decisions regarding responsibility for an incident. The judges are also required to cite and record the specific violation of each incident when 100% fault is assigned. So what does that mean? 100% fault means that what you witnessed on the track, there was one driver that 100% caused that incident. If you think it could go either way, then that should be a racing incident and all cars that stop go to the back. So what does that mean? Two cars get together, one car stops, the judges make a call. The scorekeepers, when they do the restart lineup, will go back to the last completed lap, put the cars in the running order, and then the car that got the call will go to the back of the lineup. They start in the back. Now, if they are on the original race lap and there are lap traffic cars ahead of them, just like you see the numbers on the board and the 5 is turned, the lap traffic cars start in the lineup where they are in the order, but that car really isn't in 5th place because he's lapped. If one got the call and went to the back, and he's on the lead lap, one is still ahead of 5, even though they're not starting in the racing order.
What if the car in the front is a lapped car?
That's a little bit different. There are two situations where a car can get unlapped. The first situation is if the lead car gets the call, the car behind the lead car is a lap car. We will do the lineup. We move the lead car to the back that got the call. The lap car will then also get moved to the back to start behind the call car, and that car is now unlapped. That means that car is now on the lead lap. The other situation where you can have a car be unlapped is where the car was lapped during a lap where that complete lap isn't finished, because when the scorekeepers go back to the last completed lap, they will get moved back into their position. It's basically the equivalent of a lucky dog. So the authority of the judges. So what does all that mean? The only people that can make an actual charge yellow infraction call are the judges. It's not made by the race director. It is not made by the flagger or the tower. Now, what the head judge can do is ask either the race director or the tower for a rule clarification. So if you understand what you saw, but you're not sure which way the rule goes, you can ask the tower. We'll pull out the rule book. We have these all dog-eared and highlighted so we can find them pretty quickly. And we'll clarify the rule for you so that you can make the call. So the authority of the judges. Judges have the authority to assign responsibility for a yellow flag per item 6, which we'll go over, of this section. Judges will also have the authority to disqualify any driver for infractions listed in item 12, reasons for immediate disqualification of this section. We'll go over that towards the end so that you understand what those are, and we'll look at a couple in the glossary so that you get a clear understanding of what it actually means, because we will use a lot of terms: charging, chopping, racing room, bicycling. It took me a long time to figure out the rule for bicycling. And racing room is one that can be kind of confusing because there's a lot of ifs and thens. But it still means that your job is to enforce the rule. It does not matter who is out there on the track. It doesn't matter if you're best friend's child. I made a call on my best friend's child in his last region race of his career and took him from the first place to the back. But it was a good call. The rules are the rules. And when we are out on the stand and the head judge is talking to the race director and the tower, we don't say Jim Ferguson chopping. We say charge yellow, chopping, car 1. It's all about the numbers. It doesn't matter what child is in that car. And you will get your favorite drivers. It's inevitable, but our job is to enforce the rules. So before I move on to the actual infractions, do you have any questions? Okay. So there's a couple lines out there on the track. See the lines in the corners right here? Those are called the commitment lines. So the commitment lines has to do with the charging and chopping calls. So let's start with charging. So this is page, we're going to start with charging. So this is page 46, 7G. Charging. When the inside car has not established the right-of-way entering the corner and hits the outside car and causes an incident that results in a yellow flag. Right-of-way is established when the inside car has advanced at least up to the outside car's driver's helmet with his or her right front tire by the time the inside car reaches the commit line entering the turn. If the condition is not met, the inside car must give way to avoid a charging charge yellow. So what does that mean? This is the commitment line. If we are going, oh, it's backwards. So this is the start-finish line. This is the commitment line. These two cars are racing. This is the lead car. If this car can gain enough momentum by the time he reaches the commit line, which is right here, he must be right there to be considered in. That is an in call. And what you should do on the judge's stand is say it out loud. If you say it out loud as it's happening on the track, you don't have to go back and try and remember who was in and who wasn't in if there is an issue, an incident. So what I would say as I'm going through, 22 is in. And we say it out loud. And then the head judge, if there's a call, if there's an incident, will look at you and say, I saw 22 in. Everybody will concur. Car comes around. Car is not in. This car comes down. This car hits him here. That's a charging. A little backwards this morning. So
It's not in.
it is not in. Now, chopping is the exact opposite.
22. So that would be 22's fault.
Charge yellow 22. So chopping, if the outside car does not give way to an inside car that has established the right-of-way as described in the previous paragraph and causes an incident that results in a yellow flag to be displayed, that car will be assigned a chop. So, the yellow car is in. What you usually see happen is either here or coming out of the corner here. That car comes down, that's a chop. Now, when the head judge calls the call, you can't just say car yellow or charge yellow car 43. You have to define the call. Charge yellow, chopping, car 43. Because if you cannot actually say what the call is, you can't say one driver is 100% at fault. This car went down on this car. Well, what does that mean? You have to be able to say what it is. Any questions about charging and chopping? Okay, so we're going to racing room, and I'm doing these not in the same order that are in the book, just because these kind of go this way. Racing room, when a driver will not give enough racing room to another competitor exiting the corner or the straightaway, causing an incident that results in a yellow flag to be displayed. That car will be assigned a racing room charge yellow. So you can see racing room in a couple different ways. This car is in. But this car has enough momentum to stay next to him and does not, and they hold their lines. That's what they have to do. Just because the car is in doesn't mean that this car is going to back off and fall behind him. If he has enough momentum to stay next to him, he can. And if coming out of the corner they hold their line, but this car comes up and pushes that car into the wall, that is a racing room call. It can also be the same thing. They come out of the corner side by side, they get down to this corner, this car decides he's going to run his line and pushes him out down that way. That is a racing room call. So it can happen in any of the straightaways coming out of a turn or going into a turn. You must hold your racing line. And I've seen it with the big cars. You watch the World Formulas, I've seen kids race 2-3 laps side by side all the way around. You have to hold your line. Any questions on racing room? Okay, let's see. This is a big one, and this was a new one. This is the first year, last year was the first year it was in. Loss of car control. An accident where a single car loses control and additional cars become part of the incident that the single car will be assigned a charge yellow. Loss of control. The offender car will be put to the back of the lineup and assigned a loss of control charge yellow. You have 2 cars. Let's pick on Gordon, because, you know. They are running nose to tail. They're not touching, nose to tail. This car spins out and this car plows him because there's no place for him to go. The 24 car lost control. But you have to be clear, was there any contact? If he simply lost control of his car, which happens, their tires get warm, they start to get greasy, they start to overdrive, and they spin out. Loss of control. Different call, rough driving. When a driver runs over or into another driver in front of them or beside them while exiting the corner or on the straightaway, causing an incident that results in the yellow flag to be displayed, that car will be assigned a rough driving charge yellow. For example, spinning a car on the straightaway. Same scenario. Same scenario. 2 cars running side by side. This car has enough momentum, but instead of passing them, bumps them. This car spins out. Charge yellow, racing room, car 88. The other thing that you'll see is in a corner, kids look, they drive where they look. We all drive where they look. How many times have you been looking at something on the side of the road and you kind of go over? They see a car passing them and they do this. That could be a rough driving call. If somebody hits the kid hard enough to knock his tail cone off, chances are this is a rough driving call. A lot of old-time handlers have a hard time making a rough driving call because there didn't used to be a simple charge yellow for that. Rough driving was automatically a disqualification for the day. A couple years ago, they split the rule. There can be a rough driving, which is simply a charge yellow, and then there is a flagrant unsportsmanlike conduct, which we will make, we'll go over a little bit later because that is one of the disqualification offenses. So the other thing to know about judging when you're on the judges stand, the minute those cars come on the track to the minute those cars leave, you may make a call. It does, through the scale shed. It does not matter that the checkered flag has flown. So if the checkered flag flies and there is an incident in turn 3, before the scorekeepers can finish the race, you have to make a call. And the call could be a racing incident, in which case those cars get DNFs that didn't cross the line. However, if there is a car that's 100% at fault, you need to make the call because it affects the finish order of the race. So until that is complete, until they're through the scale shed, your job as judges aren't done. Any questions on rough driving? Okay, so the last one is blocking, and blocking is confusing. So we're going to do a couple examples. This is when a driver intentionally changes lanes after exiting a corner to block a car from passing. If a car starts onto the straightaway in one pattern but then shifts over to another to block a pass, this is blocking and is cause for the judges to call for a yellow flag to be displayed. The offending car will be put to the back and assigned a blocking charge yellow. So there's 2 things that are tough about this. Cars are coming nose to nose. They're coming through, coming through, coming through. Car does his line through the corner and up. Now this car tries to go down. This car changes his line. That is a blocking call. These cars come through the corner. He feels them on his bumper. He wants it to be hard to pass. He goes through the middle lane. He never goes up to the wall. That is his line. He's maintaining his line. That is not a blocking call. So for it to be blocking, they actually have to change their line in the straightaway. The other thing that's hard about this is what do you do when it happens? This is one of the few calls where there are no stopped cars on the track. They're under green flag conditions. You witness blocking. Generally what will happen is you'll see it happen the first time and you're not sure it really happened. So you say to the other judges, watch car blah for blocking, and then you see it again. At that point, the head judge should call for a yellow flag on his radio. Flag or yellow flag. Then you make the call. The blocking car goes to the back. It is charge yellow blocking car 88. This is important because what will happen is at the end of the race, and we've seen this happen more than, I've actually seen it happen with rough driving, and I've seen it happen with blocking, is all of a sudden at the end of the race, the judges want to make a call and the race is over, and you can't do that. Technically, you must make a call within 3 laps of the incident. Let's see what we got. There is a rule in the rule book about a car stopping under yellow flag conditions does not have to go to the back and they get their position back. But what does that really mean? 47. Here we go. So, a car that stops during yellow flag conditions gets his spot back. Now, that doesn't mean the flagger throws the yellow, somebody spins out. They define it as a car that stops during yellow flag conditions. The track is considered under yellow flag conditions when all cars have reached safe caution speed and is safe for corner workers to enter the track, and is not part of the incident that caused the yellow flag, will retain its lineup position as of the last recorded green lap. You will have somebody say, that car stopped after the yellow flag. It doesn't matter. If the car stops after the yellow flag, right after the yellow flag is thrown, but everybody's still going speed and spins out, and even if they're not part of the primary incident, if there is no driver found to be 100% at fault, all drivers that stopped on the track go to the back and get a charge yellow for DOT, dead on track. So you could have 2 cars tangle here and 1 spin out over there, and if you decide the 2 cars that tangle over here, that it was just a racing incident, nobody was 100% at fault, which is okay to do, racing incidents occur, all 3 of those cars will get a DOT and go to the back. Yellow flag conditions means the cars must be slow. And you'll see it happen. They slow down, especially with novices, to save speeds, and somebody will kill their car. That's what that rule is for. So, yeah.
So, flagger throws yellow, the field slows, 1 car doesn't slow, plows into another car and wrecks them. What would the call be?
I would make a rough driving call.
You would? Okay.
Yep. Or you could actually disqualify that driver. And we'll go through that. That's actually, but they generally need 1 warning for that. So, when you make a call, how do we determine who gets the charge yellow? There are 3 judges on the stand. When a racing incident causes a yellow flag, the majority of the judges must determine whether or not a single car is 100% at fault for the incident. If full responsibility for the incident is not assigned to a single car, all cars as part of the incident and all cars that did not stop in a controlled manner will be moved to the back of the next lineup and be assigned a charge yellow as a DOT. So there are 3 judges on the stand. 1 judge sees it, 2 judges don't. Is there a majority? No. A majority is 2. 2 judges must see the incident. 2 judges must agree on the call. If not, all cars that stop go to the back. So one of the roles of the head judges, or even the other judges, talk to each other. Watch 2 and 3. You see some kind of things happening, you see they're going to get close to passing, because you have to try and keep an eye on the full field. We're not allowed to break into batches. So help each other out. If you see something coming, let each other know. What happens, and this happens, when a yellow flag is thrown because the flagger anticipates somebody stopping. 2 cars get together, they start to really slow down, it looks like they're going to stop, the yellow flag comes out, the 2 cars keep going.
Ooh, I know.
Yeah, I know. I think I know.
Ralph?
Flagger error.
Right. So, in a section 47G.
So you go back to the
When a
last
yellow
one to go
flag
back?
is thrown in anticipation of a car or cars going dead on the track as a result of an incident on the track, but the cars do not stop, a lineup will be created from the last completed lap and the race restarted. No cars will be sent to the back or assigned a charge yellow. This will be considered a flagger error. It does not matter if one car was chopping and you know that car was 100% at fault for the yellow flag. Nobody stopped. It is a flagger error. You go back to the last completed lap. Flaggers make mistakes. Flagging is one of the hardest jobs to do. It's one of the only ones I haven't done. And there's a lot going on out there, and their job is to keep our children safe. If they feel 2 cars are going to stop and they throw it out, they did it so the other cars don't come around and plow into them. It's a safety issue. It happens. Which brings me to, what happens if the judges make a call that you don't like? Or the flagger makes a call that you don't like? Or the scorekeepers, you don't like the lineup that they put on?
You go up to the tower and yell at them.
The tower might kick you down the stairs. You do not approach the tower. You do not approach the judges. And you do not yell at the flagger. You may approach the race director and make your feelings known. You can yell at most race directors as long as you don't swear at them. Most of them understand that this is a racing incident. You are very hot because your child is out there and you want it to go well. Try and remember that we are all volunteers. The race director may clarify, can you confirm that that last lap was not complete and the 3 cars should really be there? Can you confirm, head judges, what the call is? If somebody says charge yellow so-and-so and they don't tell you what the call is, you should absolutely ask for the name of the infraction. Let's see.
So I have a question. What if they can't give you the name of the infraction?
Good one.
The judges may ask for rule clarification from the tower to give the name of the infraction, but I would have a protest with the race director at that point that if they can't give me the name of the infraction, how can they say one driver is 100% at fault? Because they don't know why he's 100% at fault. Know your rules. Know what they are. It's important. Again, judges' calls are final. They may not, the race director may not override the judges. They can ask for rule clarification, and I have seen calls overturned simply because once the judges hear the rule, they'll say, okay, that's not what we saw.
I just want a little clarification. So, as a parent, I have gone both ways. I've been on the fence, and I swear to God, my kid was not at fault. I'll be up here, and then I'll see the video, and oh yeah, he totally dumped that kid. Not on purpose, but the judges see total different perspective from up here than you see from anywhere on the wall. They see stuff that we're not going to see down on the fence, so they're not going to make a call on purpose on your kid that they don't truly believe is the right call. No judge wants to make a call against a child. So when you're hot and you're upset about it, just take that into consideration. They're doing the best with what they saw, and they had this long to make that call. So they're not trying to make a call against your child on purpose. They're doing the best with what they saw in that split second. And trust me, as someone that's had to make calls, you don't want to make that call. You want your race to go green, white, checkered. So just
I like it.
So,
Especially when your own kids.
she has a good point. Same thing for the scorekeepers. So probably during the novice challenge, if anybody wants to come up and learn to score, I'll do some scoring clinics with Erin. Scoring is hard. You think it's not hard, but scoring is hard. Ask a few of the dads that thought they could come up and do it. We actually have a few dads that know how to do it. Anybody is welcome. Dads, moms, brothers and sisters over the age of 16 can be taught to score. It's hard. Mistakes happen. We do the best we can. If you think the lineup is incorrect, get to the race director quickly before it goes green, because once it goes green, there's no going back. Ask for clarification. The scorekeepers will double check their sheets, make sure they're correct, and then move forward. But you may only approach the race director. You may not come down into the hot chute and wave your arms and scream and yell at the tower. The window's open, we might throw things at you.
You can also get your child disqualified.
So, this is the other thing. Judge's authority for immediate disqualification. This is the judge's job. The judges will have the authority to immediately disqualify a driver car for the following reasons. Loss of car-related safety items under green flag conditions. This includes Nerf bars, bumpers, shoulder bar, or fuel tank. Any of those parts come off the car. They do not get an option during green flag conditions. Clear, green flag. They do not get a chance to put it back on in the hot chute and come back out. They're disqualified. The child is scored as a DNF. They get their points for whatever order they go off the track in.
Can you say that list again?
Nerf bars, bumpers, shoulder bar, or fuel tank. Okay, B, loss or improper use of driver-related safety items under green flag conditions. This includes helmet, gloves, neck collar, arm restraints, belts, etc. Big one, if they lose safety gear or improper use, one arm restraint comes off, the neck brace comes off. I've seen a kid lose a helmet in the middle of a race. The driver puts his visor up while he's racing. Immediate disqualification. The driver, for safety reasons, must go off the track.
The new rule about the gas cap, would that be 13A?
Yes.
Okay.
That will fall under the fuel tank, improper use.
Okay.
If you lose your gas cap, not just your fuel tank, that is considered a safety issue, immediate disqualification.
The hair, the girls.
It has to fall off the car onto the ground. If it falls off your car and it is like perching on your Nerf bar as you go across scales and it stays on there, it is technically not off your car, per Denise.
Okay. That one is that would be considered a safety issue, but remember, it's under yellow, or it's under green flag conditions. So you don't see it under green flag conditions. A girl's hair is out of her helmet, a long hair, and it's sitting under yellow. They may go off the track, fix her hair, and come back out. If it's green flag conditions and you see her hair flapping in the wind, that is an automatic disqualification. And that is a safety issue. Not only can their hair get caught on fire, if their hair is long enough, it can actually get caught in the motor. Let's see, next issue. Flagrant unsportsmanlike conduct. So let's see what this means. This is very different than a racing room call or than a rough driving call. Any action that is intended to cause harm to another person or damage to property or facility. Any inappropriate display of anger or temper. For example, fighting, intentionally crashing other cars or ramming into them, or obscene gesture. Obscene gesture. Okay, your children are fairly little, but you're going to be judging older children. I have seen drivers come around and flip off the judges or flip off the flagger. That is an automatic cause for disqualification if you see it.
So with the flagrant DQ call, is that for that class for that day or for that driver for all their classes?
No, it's for that race. It is 0 points. They are disqualified.
Okay.
So this is the outlet line. What does that mean? Little Wheels has a work rule. Region does not have a work rule. Every class is different. Every club. The Grands, national events, do not have a work rule. Little Wheels work rule says if you are involved in an incident, you have 5 laps from the time that the lineup is complete to get your car fixed. The flagger will notify the race director that the lineup is good, and they will start a countdown. And every time the car comes around, they'll count down the next lap. And you're working over here in the work area on your car. The race director will be standing with you saying, you have 4 laps, you have 3 laps. Then he'll say, next, or 1 to green. You get your car together, 1 to green, you push him off, the car comes out and gets his nose over that out late line before the green flag is actually thrown. That means he is out in time, but that green flag can fly. So when your child enters through the entry line, you could be in green flag conditions. There are 8 cars on the track. Your car must drop to the back. So even if he comes out in the 4th spot and that green flag is thrown, he has to drop all the way to the back before he can pass another car. If he does, he can continue racing. If he starts passing the cars without dropping to the back, judges, you should call for a yellow flag. Let the flagger know that that car was out late and did not drop to the back, and he can get black flagged. Now,
Out in time, not out
he
late.
he was out in time. Same thing with an out late. The car does not make it across, but falls to the back and starts racing. You have to let your flagger know that that car was out late and needs to be black flagged. Some flaggers will throw a yellow and black flag the car. Some flaggers will just black flag the car and not throw a yellow until he goes off. I would need to read the clarification in the judging or in the flagging procedures for that. But you have to let that flagger know as soon as possible, because those handlers down there that have cars that were out there racing, if that car that was out late causes an incident and should not have been on the track, they get very upset. So just do it as quickly as possible.
If you are not involved in the incident and you come off the track to fix something on your car, do you get 5 laps?
No. You must be involved in the incident to get the 5 laps. So the other thing that will happen is the car was out late and he didn't rejoin the racing surface, or he went back around. But there's an incident on the track that lap was not completed. The car has another chance because that lap wasn't complete. He can try and get out one more time. So if they don't get out, a full green flag lap is completed, that car's done. So let's see, let's go back to reasons for disqualifying. All 4 wheels under the speed breakers to gain an advantage position or track distance without relinquishing the gained advantage within 1 lap. So you'll see this with novices. They cut the corner through the grass and they pick up a position. They have 1 lap to give that position back. If they don't give it back within 1 lap, call for a yellow flag. That car is disqualified. It is not a charge yellow, it is a disqualification. If they cut through the grass and they don't pick up a position, we just continue racing unless it causes an incident. If they pick up a position and they do give it back, they continue racing.
Is it all 4 tires?
All 4 tires. All 4 wheels under the speed breakers. This is the one that we talked about earlier. Flag goes yellow, another flagger comes around and plows into a child. Another car. Disobeying flags, doing this deliberately or flagrantly to cause an incident or to gain a position. Jumping starts or passing under yellow without being told after being warned at least 1 time. Or not observing the yellow or not observing the red. Most of the time if somebody doesn't observe the red, the judges may call down or the race director and ask the race director to check the kids' brakes, because that happens also sometimes where all of a sudden they lose brakes and they can't stop. That would be considered a safety issue and would be disqualified. But they have to be warned. Remember, it is the 1 car position's job to set the pace of the track. If you're in the 2 position and you jump in front of that car before the green flag is thrown, or you're in the field and you're anticipating the green coming out and you make a pass before that green happens, the flagger can choose not to go green and give them a black flag warning. The second time it happens, generally they will send the car to the back. If it continues to happen, the judges may disqualify that driver. And that is the judge's authority, not the race director's. Any questions on that? Okay, so the last thing, and this is really important, actually two things. Judges have a habit of saying, let's see who goes off the track, because if you go off the track to fix your car, you're going to the back anyway, and then they'll make that call on the car that went in. That is not correct. You should make the call on the car that caused the incident regardless of who goes off track to fix their car. If you can't honestly say that one driver was 100% at fault, you should not give the call to the driver that went off the track just because he went off the track. Both cars should get the DOT call for an incident. Because what if later on the race, that car that shouldn't have got the call gets disqualified because he had too many calls? It is not proper procedures. Very last final thing I want to leave you with, the judges' stand is like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Do yourself a favor. Do not leave the judges' stand and talk about what happened up there. All it does is create hard feelings and leaves opportunity for incidents. It is never personal. Our job is to enforce the rules, regardless of whose child it is, whether we like them, love them, or somewhere in between. Just like they are not allowed to approach you, just don't go to the handler later and say, I just really didn't agree with that, because all it does is causes issues. So thank you for attending. Anybody have any questions before we go?
Thick skin up here.
Yeah, just remember it's never personal.